If I asked you what Hainan is, most people would probably say the same. Beaches, resorts, luxury hotels, maybe a tropical vacation in Sanya. And honestly, before this trip, that's pretty much what I thought too. But after spending the last week exploring Hainan, meeting people, visiting factories, hospitals, technology centers, and even watching a rocket launch, I realized something surprising. What I discovered wasn't just a tropical island, it was one of the most ambitious places I've ever visited. Because while tourists are relaxing on the beach, something much bigger is happening behind the scenes. New machines are reaching patients faster, engineers are testing the future of transportation, factories are producing products that end up all over China and beyond, and rockets are launching into space. So if you are someone like me who thinks Hainan is just a holiday destination, trust me, by the end of this video, you'll see it completely differently. And honestly, I don't think I expected to love this much while also learning so much. Because somehow this trip managed to combine speedboats, rocket launches, cutting-edge hospitals, autonomous vehicle testings, factories, and enough car ideas to make me lose track of where I was half of the time. But that's exactly what made it unforgettable. So hello everyone, I'm Lizzy and I really hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did filming it. Woo! Okay, now the first thing I realized is that there are really two versions of Hainan. There's this version that everybody sees. The beaches, palm trees, sunshine, yachts, luxury hotels, and a beautiful coastline. And then there's the version that most people never see. The version where government officials, scientists, doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs, and manufacturers are building something designed to shape the future. Now, at first, these things seem completely unrelated. What does a hospital have to do with a rocket launch? What does a coconut factory have to do with international trade? What does a vehicle testing center have to do with economic development? But as the week went on, I started seeing how everything connected together. Every place we visited was part of a much bigger picture. And once I understood that picture, Hainan became one of the most fascinating places that I've ever been to. One of the places that impressed me the most was the medical sector. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When people invite you to visit hospitals during a trip, it doesn't exactly sound that exciting. But what I saw completely changed my perspective. Like, the focus wasn't just on buildings or equipment, it was about the patients. Real people who previously might have had to travel extremely long distances to access advanced treatments, technologies, or specialized medical devices. And what really stood out to me was how much effort is being put into reducing that burden for these patients. We saw advanced medical technologies, cutting-edge equipment, and treatments that can reach patients faster than ever before. We learned about these medical devices like these little pacemakers and other technologies that can have a life-changing impact. We saw high-end imaging systems capable of producing incredibly detailed results. The kind of technology where doctors can see more clearly, diagnose more accurately, and make decisions faster. And these things are really easy to overlook when you're standing in front of a machine. But when you think about what it means for a patient sitting in a hospital bed, it becomes a completely different story. Suddenly, it's not about technology, it's about time. And in healthcare, time can change everything. Oh wow, guys. And then another place during this trip that just completely surprised me was this automotive testing facility. Now, when I first heard about it, I imagined a few cars driving around in circles. And I couldn't have been more wrong. This place was enormous. Road after road, surface after surface. These different environments designed to test vehicles under all kinds of conditions. And what fascinated me wasn't just the cars. It was the people behind them. The engineers, the researchers, the teams trying to answer thousands of questions before a vehicle ever reaches a customer. Like, how does it handle heat? How does it perform in humid conditions? How does the cooling system respond? What happens when temperatures become extreme? What happens after thousands and thousands of kilometers? The amount of testing happening here was really incredible. And as we drove through these different sectors, I really started realizing that almost every vehicle we use depend on years of work that most people never see. And it's only the final product that gets all the attention, but really the testing is where the confidence is built. And seeing that process up close gave me a completely new appreciation for the engineering involved. Like, yes, it was fun, but it's also amazing to know what goes on behind the scenes. One of the biggest surprises was probably visiting the factories, because when I hear factory, when most people hear factory, they usually imagine something repetitive and boring. But honestly, I really found them fascinating. Like, one moment we were walking through and we were learning about coconut products. The next minute we were seeing like production lines making cookies, candies, beverages, and consumer goods. And then we were looking at manufacturing processes for household products and appliances. And honestly, what shocked me was how much happens before a product reaches a shelf. We weren't just seeing products, we were seeing these entire systems, raw materials arriving, processing, packaging, quality control, distribution. And one detail that really stuck with me was seeing how much companies produce so much of the processes themselves. Literally, like even things like bottle production, something you never think about as a consumer. You buy a drink, you take a sip, you throw away the bottle and you move on. But behind that bottle is an entire manufacturing ecosystem. Thousands of decisions, machines operating with incredible precision, people making sure everything works. It's easy to ignore because we only interact with the final product. But visiting these factories during the last few days made me appreciate just how much effort goes into this everyday life. Guys, and then came the moment I don't think I will ever forget, the rocket launch. I've seen launches on a video before. I've watched them online like everyone else, but standing there in person is completely different. The atmosphere changes. Everyone starts watching the clock. The excitement builds. People stop talking, and then suddenly all that like engineering, science, planning, and preparation becomes visible in one incredible moment. The countdown ends, the engines ignite, and within seconds, something built by thousands of people, it just rises into the sky. Oh, it's honestly hard to describe. Like, part excitement, part disbelief, part inspiration. But now what stayed with me afterwards wasn't the launch, it was what it represented. Because a rocket launch, it's not about the rocket, right? It's about the scientists, the engineers, the technicians, the manufacturing, the research, the years of work required to make those few minutes possible. And just standing there watching it, it made me realize how much innovation is happening in places that most people never think about, that I never thought about. Now, something a little less technical, the boat ride. Yes, I took a boat ride in Sanya because this trip wasn't all about factories and technology. There were moments where I got to step back and really enjoy where I was. And that's what made this experience so unique, because one moment you're discussing advanced medical technologies and the next you're out on the water looking at the skyline. And honestly, some of my favorite memories came from those moments. The conversations, the jokes, the random laughs, the rides, the moments when nobody was trying to impress anyone or really learn, just people sharing experiences. And as we moved through the CBD area and saw how quickly the city is developing, I really started noticing something. The modern buildings weren't standing there by accident. The businesses weren't arriving by accident. The investment wasn't happening by accident. It was a vision. There was a vision behind all of it. And the more people I met, the more obvious that vision became. I'm gonna say it, guys. Me that loves technology, there's something that I loved more about this trip. It was the people. Like, because throughout this week, I kept hearing about development, innovation, investment, growth, bigger projects, faster industries, new technology. And it's easy to assume that that's what defines a place. But one morning on this trip, we sat down at Lao Ba Cha. It's this traditional Hainan breakfast experience surrounded by tables full of snacks, tea, and conversations. And we were laughing, chatting. Everyone, people around us, they were laughing. They were taking their time. They were sharing food. And it reminded me that while Hainan is moving really fast, it hasn't forgotten how to slow down. In fact, that's probably the best way that I can describe what I experienced. Warmth and speed. On one side, you have engineers testing the future of transportation, doctors using advanced medical technologies, businesses expanding, factories innovating, and rockets launching into space. And then on the other side, you have communities being built, parks where families spend time together, schools focused on educating the next generation, public spaces designed for people, not just businesses, restaurants that are full of life, neighbors meeting over tea, and a culture that still places enormous value on connection. And the more people I spoke to, the more I realized something important. People might come to Hainan because of the opportunities. They might come because of the industries, the technology, the business environment, or the career growth. But what keeps people in Hainan is something completely different. It's the feeling, the sense of community, the quality of life here, the warmth. And somehow Hainan seems to be trying to build both at the same time. And by the end of this trip, I stopped seeing these individual locations. I stopped seeing a hospital, a factory, a testing center, a business district, and a launch site. Instead, I started seeing connections. The hospitals are connected to innovation. The factories are connected to trade. The testing centers are connected to future industries. The business districts are connected to investment. The space sector is connected to technological development. Everything feeds into everything else. And that's when I understood why so many people are paying attention to what is happening in Hainan. Because this isn't simply about building a tourist destination. It's about creating an environment where new ideas, industries, technologies, and businesses can grow. So when people ask me, how was your trip? They're usually expecting me to talk about the beaches. And yes, the beaches were beautiful. The boat ride was incredible. The weather was actually not that hot. But anyway, the rocket launch was unforgettable. But that's not what I'm going to remember the most. What I'm going to remember most is discovering the side of Hainan that most people never see. A place where doctors are working to get advanced treatments to patients faster, where engineers are testing the future, where factories are producing products used every day by millions of people, where businesses are growing, where innovation is happening, and where the future is being built right now. And after this week, I can finally understand why so many people are choosing Hainan, and I cannot wait to go back. Guys, thank you for checking this video with me. What a great week I had in Hainan. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.